4 months, the GL community had been whispering. Every time Ginny and Jayna appeared together, fans noticed something shifting. Their interviews felt more aligned, their energy more confident, and their silence, when it came to future plans, was almost too deliberate. People sensed something coming, something larger than a project, larger than a comeback. But no one knew how big it truly was until today. It started quietly, with a single post. A blank black background. 3 simple words, a new era begins. No hashtags, no explanation, no names. But everyone who followed Ginny and Jayna knew exactly whose aesthetic that was. Within minutes, comments flooded in from every corner of the world. Was this a teaser? A collaboration? A series? Fans were desperate for answers, but nothing could have prepared them for what would happen next. The industry woke up to breaking news alerts. Articles, tweets, and entertainment pages all reported the same thing. Ginny Natnica and Jayna Angelina Stevens were launching their own production label. A label focused entirely on GL content, original works, adaptations, international partnerships, stories told through perspectives that mainstream companies always overlooked. And for the first time, these stories would be created, controlled, owned, and led by the 2 women who had unintentionally become the faces of a global movement. Immediately, the internet erupted. Fans had always said they should build something together. They joked about it during live streams. They trended it during award shows. But no one thought they would really take such a massive step. And certainly not while their careers were already thriving individually. But that was exactly why this announcement hit so hard. They weren't doing it for survival. They were doing it for impact. Only a few hours later, they appeared. Side by side. Not on a red carpet. Not on a drama set. But in a simple white studio with a soft backdrop behind them. No flashy lights, no dramatic intro. Just the 2 of them. Calm, focused, powerful. The moment they stepped into frame, the entire chat exploded. Fans from over 60 countries watching live. Comments flying so fast the feed couldn't catch up. Ginny spoke first. She said this wasn't an overnight decision. That this dream had been growing quietly between them for years, even before the world started pairing their names together. She talked about the limitations they faced as actresses, the scripts they weren't allowed to choose, the stories they weren't allowed to shape, the roles written with boundaries, with restrictions, with fear. She said they wanted to change that, not just for themselves, but for every young creator who had been told their story wasn't marketable enough. Jayna continued. She revealed that this wasn't just a label, it was a mission, a promise. A space where GL stories wouldn't be sidelined or treated as experimental content. They would be treated with the same respect, depth, and investment as any major romance or blockbuster drama. She said they wanted to make the kind of stories they wished they saw growing up. The kind of stories fans kept begging the industry to take seriously. But then she said something that made everyone freeze. We're not just building a company. We're building a home. The chat erupted again, but the room itself fell silent. Jayna let her words sit for a moment, then continued. She said that during their last project, something shifted between them creatively. The way they understood each other. The way they communicated on set. The way they aligned without speaking. They realized they had something rare, something they couldn't find anywhere else in the industry. And instead of letting that connection fade, they wanted to build something lasting from it. Ginny added that the label already had its first project in development, a full-length GL series, something bold, emotional, culturally deep, and risky, a story they believed the world was finally ready for. She didn't reveal the plot, but she hinted that fans might see them working together again in a way no one had seen before. The kind of chemistry that wasn't restricted by a director or limited by a script written by someone who didn't understand them. But then came the moment that changed everything. A reporter asked a question, not about the label, not about their roles, but about their personal bond. He asked why it had to be the 2 of them. Why start a company together? Why not with a group? Or solo? Why take such a life-changing risk with one person? Ginny paused. Then she looked at Jayna, and the way she looked at her sent the entire fandom into meltdown. She said there were some partnerships the industry could not manufacture. Some bonds that didn't need to be forced or negotiated. some connections that simply made sense. And Jayna, she said, was someone she trusted completely. Someone who understood her. Someone whose presence made the work better. Someone she could build something meaningful with. Jayna didn't speak at first. She simply reached out and placed her hand atop Ginny's, gently, naturally, without hesitation. And the cameras caught it. That small, intimate moment became an instant global headline. For the first time, Ginny and Jayna were no longer just co-stars. No longer just partners in a drama. They were becoming partners in creation. Partners in ownership. Partners in something so much bigger than entertainment. And the industry wasn't ready. Producers who once ignored GL scripts were suddenly calling. Distributors who didn't believe in representation were now emailing nonstop. Platforms that once hesitated were begging for meetings. The power dynamic shifted overnight, and everyone noticed. But even with the chaos, the pressure, and the massive expectations placed on their shoulders, Ginny and Jayna walked out of that announcement room side by side, smiling softly, whispering to each other as they exited into a hallway that would change their lives forever. What no one knew, though, was that behind closed doors, there was one more announcement waiting. A secret reveal. Something even bigger than their label. Something that would shake the world again. Something that had everything to do with why they trusted each other so deeply. And that reveal was coming sooner than anyone realized. But the biggest shock didn't come from the logo, the company name, or even the announcement itself. It came from what happened the moment the live stream ended. Ginny and Jayna stepped off the stage, still trembling from the weight of what they had just shared. They walked behind the curtain, away from the cameras and the lights, and for a moment the room fell silent. Their team stood frozen, unsure whether to cheer, cry, or simply breathe again. Then, Ginny reached for Jayna's hand. Not for the cameras, not for a performance, but because she genuinely needed that touch. Jayna squeezed back instantly, her eyes softening with a mixture of fear, relief, and overwhelming determination. She whispered something so quietly that only Ginny heard it. "We really did it." Ginny let out a nervous laugh. "Yes, no turning back now." Their manager approached them slowly, holding her phone. She looked stunned. "You two need to see this." On the screen, the live stream number kept climbing even though the broadcast was over. 500,000, 1 million, and climbing. The comments didn't stop. Supportive messages in English, Thai, Filipino, Indonesian, Japanese, Spanish. Every time zone awake. Every fandom awake. People weren't just excited. They were emotional. One comment read, "This is history. A GL label made by women who actually care about representation." Another, "Thank you, Ginny and Jayna. You're doing what we've been waiting for." But buried in the sea of love was the comment that made Ginny freeze. "They're doing this together. Does this mean what we think it means?" Jayna noticed the way Ginny suddenly stopped breathing. She gently took the phone from her hands. "Don't think about that right now." But Ginny whispered back, "They're already assuming." Jayna smiled softly, almost reassuringly. "Let them assume. As long as we tell our story our way." The team gave them space, letting the two walk back to their private lounge. But the moment the door closed, everything both of them were holding back finally spilled out. Ginny leaned against the wall, overwhelmed. "I'm scared, Jayna." Jayna didn't hesitate for a second. "I know. I am too." Ginny shook her head. "It's not the work, not the company. I'm scared of how they'll twist us. You and me." Jayna stepped closer, her voice steady. "They'll talk no matter what we do. But they can't twist what's real if we don't let them control the narrative." Ginny swallowed, her voice small. "And what's real?" Jayna looked at her with a softness that could silence an entire room. "What's real is you and me, trusting each other. Only that matters." For a moment, the tension dissolved. Their connection, long whispered about, long questioned by fans, felt more visible than ever, but only to them. The world could guess. The world could speculate. The world could scream. But this moment, this belonged only to Ginny and Jayna. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Their PR director stepped in, still slightly breathless. "There's more. Netflix and GMMTV both just emailed. They want a meeting. They want to know what your company is planning. Ginny and Jayna exchanged a look, half panic, half excitement. Jayna laughed under her breath. Well, I guess we're really in it now. Their PR director continued. Also, you two might want to look outside. They stepped out of the lounge and walked to the backstage side door. When they opened it, both of them stopped, stunned. Hundreds of fans were waiting outside the building, screaming, crying, cheering, holding posters that said, "We support you. GL needs you. Ginny X Jayna, the future. History begins today." Some were even waving pride flags. Jayna covered her mouth, trying not to cry. Ginny blinked back tears, overwhelmed. They stood there silently, absorbing the moment, realizing how big this was, how big it was going to be. Jayna whispered, more to herself than to anyone else, "We're really changing the game." And Ginny replied, in the softest voice, "No, we're changing lives." The two stepped out to greet the fans, hands brushing, shoulders touching, never letting the space between them grow too wide. Tonight wasn't just an announcement. Tonight was a beginning, a risk, a promise, a declaration of power, possibility, and partnership. And whether the world knew it yet or not, the story of Ginny and Jayna was only getting started.